Hey, it's Alan at Potbelly Performance. So I have had a little screw up with one of my videos. Let's see if I can't zoom out anymore. Anyways, so I got a truck of mine back, and it was a truck that I had. I think I bought it in 2009. Well, it I don't know. I have a long history with it, but I had made a video explaining this truck. It was like 2 hours long, explaining the truck and fixing the truck, diagnosing, all that stuff. I made a whole revival on it, which it's still not driving because it needs all the tires put on it, but it's got 6 tires. So anyways, I'm gonna just start over. Obviously the truck is kind of up and running now, but so it's a 1996 Chevy 1 ton dually. Sorry, I'm gonna try and get out of the sun here. We're just winging this right now because I'm just gonna have to redo the video. So I'll just introduce the truck, kind of give you an idea of where we're going with it and all that. So it's a 1996 Chevy 3500 crew cab dually, and you know, back in 2008 really, I had gotten laid off. The workforce basically offered for me to be able to go to school instead of getting a job, and they would cover it. I'm like, well, that sounds pretty good. And so I enrolled in collision and paint, and I loved it. It was a great school. It's down in Waco, Texas, and it was a great school. Anyways, well, they had said, one of the teachers told us in the class that you could enter your vehicles in the school, and it would be like one of the class projects, and you could just fix it, and then you just have to pay for materials, or parts and materials. And so I bought this dually. It was about, I think, 2 hours north. No, it was probably about 2 hours north, up in Denton. It was actually Pilot Point above Denton. And I took a half-ton Chevy with an 18-foot trailer and went and picked up this dually that I found on Craigslist, and I bought it for $1,500. And it had been, I don't know if they hit like a ditch or what, but they ran over something and it didn't even damage the body. It basically just rolled the frame down, like bent the frame down and pushed all the suspension backwards into the cab. And I went and picked this up, and it was the sketchiest drive all the way back to Waco with it. That truck was so heavy that it was picking up the front end of the truck that I was towing it with. Stupid. I mean, I was probably, I had to have been 23, maybe 23 years old, 22, 23 years old. And so it was just stupid. But the school fixed it, and I was married at the time. I married young, and the school fixed it, got it going, got it started, and drove it an hour back to where I lived, and then went through a divorce and ended up selling the truck to one of the teachers at the school. So I drove it an hour back. So life goes by. I think 4 or 5 years went by, and I divorced. Then I got remarried, and to my now current wife. We've been married for about 13 years now, but got remarried, and we were driving through town, and I saw this red dually at O'Reilly's. And so I told her, I was like, that's my old truck. It looked like it, and so I turned back around just to get a better look at it, and it sure was. It was my truck, an hour from where I put it, and it's weird that it ended up right back in town. I had no idea who owned it. So I was like, okay, that's cool. I wonder if I'm covering up. Give me a second. All right, sorry. I thought my hand was covering the microphone on on my phone. I'm not wearing a microphone right now because I'm just gonna candidly reshoot this video. Anyways, life goes by, and I've owned a bunch of OBS trucks, and I needed parts for one of my trucks, and I kept hearing about this guy in town that had a whole bunch of OBSs, and so I finally got in contact with him, and he agreed to maybe let me come out because he doesn't like to sell things, and so he agreed, yeah, come on out, check it out, see if we can work a deal on something. Okay, so I go to his house, and in the backyard there is a red dually sitting in the backyard under a tree, and I was just freaked out. I was like, oh, that's my old truck. I saw it, a couple years ago in town. He's like, yeah. It's like, I bought it off of a guy in Waco. I'm like, yeah, Mr. Bandy was the teacher's name. It's like, yeah, you bought it from him. That's who I sold it to. And he was like, oh, you must be the guy that he was telling me about that used to own it in Stephenville. I'm like, yeah, that was me. And so it was just a small world. And so he said that Mr. Bandy never did anything with it. It just sat at his house, and he didn't touch it, didn't start it, nothing. And so Julio got it, and I think he put another fuel tank and fuel pump in it because it's in such bad shape it wasn't worth trying to fix the tank. And so I think Julio drove it. This was around 2016. Julio drove it around a little bit, here and there, not much, just to work and back a few times, and then put it in the backyard, and that's where it sat. So I think fast forward to 2020 is when I started trying to get it back off of him. I told him, if you ever sell it, just let me know, because his goals were sorry, I've been working on the house. I've probably got a bunch of stuff on me, sawdust and stuff. Anyways, so I told him, it's like, if you ever want to sell it, let me know. I want first dibs. And his plans were to bag it, put it on semi wheels, which are the exact same plans that I've always had for it. That's the only reason why I wanted it. I've always wanted a bagged dually, or at minimum lowered. And so he didn't even entertain ever selling it. He didn't want to sell it, and so I understand. Well, I think another year goes by, and I keep bugging him about it, just over and over and over. I just always hit him up and say, hey, you want to sell it yet? Nah, I don't want to sell it. The truck's been sitting since 2016, at this point. And so he finally decided to sell it. We came up with a number, and I didn't have the money, and so that got squashed. And we just kept going back and forth. And I think 4 years go by. I would get the money. He didn't want to sell it. I wouldn't have the money. He wanted to sell it, and so it just kept going on and on and on. Well, he finally just said, hey, let's trade. I don't like to trade because someone always feels like they get screwed in the trade, and so I was like, I would rather not do that. So the trade that he wanted was to fix 2 of his other OBSs, and to get them running, and that would give me the truck and a really good set of the dually fenders, because the ones on, I'll show you, I'm going to give you a tour of this truck, but the fenders on this truck are trash, and so he had a good set of red dually fenders. So I was like, I absolutely want those. And so got all that done, and then he works out of town, out of state, for months at a time, so I had to wait like another 4 months for him to get back into Texas so I could go get my truck. And so finally got it, hauled it to the house, diagnosed it. So one thing I knew that the truck always had wrong with it, and I told him this, I was like, you're running it on a bad engine. It had no oil pressure. And so he's like, no, it always had oil pressure. And well, sure enough, I get it, and I put 4 quarts of oil in it, and finally brought it up to the stick, not even full. And so got it filled up, tried to get it running, wouldn't start. I could hear the fuel pump running, but it wouldn't push fuel. And I remember him telling me he put a fuel pump in it. And so I I hear the fuel pump running, so I'm thinking that it's just a little rubber piece in the sending unit that goes from the pump up to the sending unit. I was like, well, that's probably rotted. I'll just go ahead and pull the pump and fix that hose. So I made a video of this. I pulled the tank, opened it up, and it was rusty. I mean, the tank's not in very good shape either, even though it's already been replaced. But it's sat since 2016 at this point, and we're at 2024, into 2024, and put a pump in it. And it wasn't the hose, it was actually the pump. Somehow I guess it just wasn't working internally. I blew out all the lines, got the truck started, and the truck does not want to start. It needs a starter. Starter is just super weak. Even with me, I have to put my truck on it, jump it with my truck, and a jump box just for that starter to get enough juice to turn that motor over. But got it fired up. It did not sound good at all. Oil pressure was just like I remembered it 15 years ago, or however long it's been now. It was I think like right over 20 psi cold, and I have a quart of Lucas and 1030 in it, and it just won't build any pressure. It ran good. It had a misfire, a persistent misfire, and I assumed the injectors were probably clogged. So it's got a heavy dose of mystery oil in it to kind of help lubricate them and clean them up. Well, the truck ran. I let it run and run and run. I probably let it run minimum 30 minutes. And I took it around the block, aired up the tires. Well, I'm like, great, this thing's running great. No smoking, no nothing, just low oil pressure. I can fix that with a high volume pump or something like that. I can go through it and fix it. And so next day I come out, I want to start it, and it backfired. I'm assuming one of the injectors is stuck open and drained a bunch of fuel down in the piston or cylinder, and it backfired. And when it backfired, it actually like basically exploded the cat. I don't know, but after that it started running really bad. Cat's rattling, all this stuff, and now I can't get it started. So I have a spare 454 for it. That's what I intend on putting in the truck, because I know that engine had good oil pressure, ran good. So I'm gonna just I'll go through that 454, and that truck had 190,000 miles. This dually has 189,000 miles, so it's kind of funny. Pretty close on mileage there. But anyways, I'm gonna give you a tour. I don't know what happened to that video. It literally was like, it was 2 hours, right at 2 hours long, explaining history, all that stuff. And I went to upload it, and YouTube said I failed to upload. Okay, so I erased it, and I went to re-upload it, and it for some reason was not in my phone. It wasn't in my editing software or nothing. I don't know what happened to it. So here we are again. I can't fix it because it's already been fixed. So y'all will probably pick up on when I start doing more of a revival to it, because it really needs to be detailed, cleaned up, needs tires, it needs a lot. So this truck has literally been just like it was when I sold it in 2009. I think I sold it in 2010. Bought it in 2009, sold it in 2010. But it hasn't been touched. It still has the same tires on it from when I had it, which now they're rotted off of it. They're completely trashed now. But anyways, so without further ado, it did have a chrome grill on it when I got it. The guy I got it from, he asked if I would trade the chrome grill for this one. I said, yeah, that's fine, because I'm actually going to put a GMC grill on, because that's the front end I prefer. So I actually have a brand new GMC grill for it. And one of my buddies, Ruben, he does really good paint, so he's agreed to paint it for me. And but the plan is, and I may keep it on these Alcoas for a little while, and lower it, just do like a 5/8 drop on it, and then color match the bumpers, things like that. Just kind of create like a cool what I grew up with in the 90s and early 2000s, just a sport truck look, and that's just what I like. So I am going to do a Valance with the 454 fogs on it. I already got the fog lights for it. I just gotta grab a Valance for it, but it's not a priority, so it's not going to happen anytime soon. But I kid you not, when you see the wrinkle in that fender, I don't know if it's going to show up right there, that wrinkle, that was caused by the wreck. And so when the frame got rolled down, it pulled the whole front of the truck down. And so it, all right, come on, lost focus, there we go. So the school, when I put it in the school, we had to drag it in. It obviously wouldn't roll. It ran, and so we were using the truck under its own power to pull it into the shop, but it didn't have enough traction, so we had to basically put a truck behind it just to push it in, and then we just put it on dollies whenever we got it into the shop to move it around. But you can see the damage. Y'all can probably hear my pig in the background. We have a pet pig. His name's Otis. He's pretty awesome. If y'all ever want an awesome pet, potbelly pigs are freaking awesome. He's not really a potbelly, he's a cooney, but he's a pretty damn awesome animal. Anyways, back to the truck. So they put it on there. It was a Carliner 3D frame machine, and it was one of the best ones that the school had. And so they put it on that, straightened it all out. I wasn't part of that class. I was in paint, advanced paint, whenever they were working on this truck, so I actually wasn't part of the repair process on it. But they got it all straightened out. Drives good. It needs an alignment, but not a big deal. So that's where it stopped, and we're now to this point. So the windshield's busted. It was not busted when I sold it, but it is fully loaded. It has all the options. It's even got keyless entry and things like that, 410 gears. And it's funny because the seat, I remember the seat being this way. The leather is actually really soft still. It's not like stiff. So luckily there's a company on eBay that makes the factory covers for these trucks, and so I'll get those, and you gotta strip the seat down. So we're looking at about $500 to do the bottom and the back. So headliner is mostly in good shape. Got a little bit of sagging going on here, not a big deal. It's got 189,000. But yeah, the truck, I mean, it's exactly, no kidding, the way I remember it when I sold it. And it's nice. If you know how these trucks smell when they were new, it still smells that way. It actually smells really good in here. It just smells like leather, and that's going to take some cleaning. That seat is really just dirty, stained, so it needs good cleaning. Doors don't sag. You need a little bit of greasing, but the doors actually shut really nice. So here she is. Now this was actually more complete when I got rid of it, because I know it had an airbox. Airbox is missing, and then the fan shroud's missing. So I don't know what was going on there. I know somebody was chasing a overheating problem, because in this toolbox, handy little OBS toolbox, there's a bunch of what am I trying to say, radiator caps. And so when I was running the truck last week, it was overheating. It would stay at like 220 on the gauges, and so I hooked my scanner up to it, and it was actually, the gauges are wrong. The gauges actually show 220, and the scanner was saying like 180, and I would trust the scanner a lot more than I would OBS gauges. I'm telling you, factory gauges are not accurate by any means. They do have a lot of like discrepancies on being accurate. It's got the Alcoa wheels. So anyways, that's her in a nutshell. Needed a fuel pump. And now that I'm kind of talking about it, I kind of think, because when I start it now, it sounds like it has no compression. It's just, you know, like that, no compression. And I'm kind of thinking, I bet you that catalytic converter is completely turned sideways and blocking the exhaust, and so it can't get it out. So I may end up cutting the catalytic converter off and see if it'll fire up. Anyways, so yeah, that's my truck. It's my long lost truck. I know it's beat up and rough, and it's probably not worth it. You know, some of y'all are gonna be like, why would you try and save that? It's for me a sentimental thing, because I've already revived this truck once, and it got away from me. The fact that it came right back to where I live is just, it's, to me, it's just crazy to me that it just comes right back. It could have gone anywhere else, but it comes right back to where I live. I crossed its path again, and I found it, and so I'm gonna save it. So that's the deal. And I also picked up another dually. I kind of have a sickness, but it's another OBS dually, and if you think this one's bad, wait till you see the other one, because the other one should probably be scrapped. I mean, the body is perfect. It only has maybe 1 or 2 dings on it, but the interior, it's been sitting under a tree for 10 years with the window down, so it's full of mouse poop, raccoon poop, I don't know. It's full of just crap, literally. And when I opened the hood, there was a possum sitting on top of the engine. So, and it's a diesel, but it's 4x4 and I want it, so I like to save OBSs. And when you can get a crew cab dually OBS for almost nothing, yeah, it's worth it. So that's where we're at. That's the tour of the dually, and I'm gonna post this video. Hopefully I don't have issues out of it, but I'm gonna post the video, and then at least y'all kind of know about it, and then I'll pick it up from there, and I'll just make another revival video once it's turn in line. But right now I've got a bunch of other vehicles to work on, so, and y'all would be part of that as well. So anyways, Potbelly Performance, and that's my channel. Like, subscribe. Let's kind of get this channel growing. I don't know how to make it work, but I'm new to all this. So anyways, I'll see y'all later. Oh, by the way, it's New Year's. This is January 1st, 2025. So happy New Year.